Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I'm so happy today because I have my hands finally on the Adidas Adizero Prime X3 Strung. What a beautiful shoe this is. I mentioned in the previous video that I really wanted to get my hands on this, and there's a shop just down the road that just opened and they were selling it and I just couldn't resist. It set me back about £175. That is kind of the going rate at the moment. You can find it a bit cheaper on some websites, they're about 150, but for that price you are getting one hell of a shoe. There's a lot of technology packed in here. They kind of packed all of the technology, all of the new technology they have into one shoe, and you know that's kind of what they do with these Prime X shoes, is they just take all of their newest technology and they just shove it all into one shoe. And it's kind of like an experiment every year, which is nice because when you're running with, you know, technology that hasn't really been proven or tested, it's just something different. It's exciting, and you know, it actually makes you feel, especially in this shoe, because it's a high stack height. I don't know if it's a little bit less than the previous shoe or maybe about the same. I think it's 50 millimeters in the heel and about 43 millimeters in the forefoot, and it uses, I think, 3 layers of Light Strike Pro foam. I did see in one video that this Light Strike Pro foam is different from this Light Strike Pro foam, but it's still called the same thing. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but apparently that is the case. Whereas you can see in the Prime X2 Strung, which I actually think is way more beautiful on the upper anyway. I love this green and black color, and like the way this Adidas logo just fades in. Oh, it's so sexy. And it also just fits, I don't know, it's just a nice shoe, right? So I really like this shoe still, but you can see on this shoe they just seem to kind of use, like, I think just one, it does seem like there's a bit of a sandwich of Light Strike Pro in the middle, but it just seems to be all like the same color at least, and probably just the same material all the way throughout, although I need to double check that. But as you look at the soles of these shoes, they're kind of a similar shape, right? There's not too much difference, but you can see that they have, I think they have improved the stability issues that were on this X2 shoe, because you can see that on this, I've noticed when I wear it, it kind of protrudes out more here on the forefoot, and I think that kind of stops me from rocking too far, because on this one, it does protrude out a little bit, but I don't know, it just kind of felt like way more unstable. On this one, it just feels a bit thicker on the forefoot, and it just feels like I'm not twisting my foot as far when I'm going around corners and stuff, and it just feels a bit more nimble to run in. I've done one run in this so far, so I still need to get in some more miles, and I will come back with a 100-mile review. But another difference is, in this shoe, they just had 2 big carbon plates that in the last video I told you there wasn't much need for that, because there's no evidence that 2 carbon plates actually makes you run faster. But the new addition to this shoe is that they have the big carbon plate going through all the way through the shoe. I don't think it quite goes all the way up to the toe box, as I saw in another review. But they also have like the carbon infused energy rods running throughout the shoe, and they're like in a little, they're kind of in the shape of the bones of your foot kind of thing. And it's just like sandwiched between this big piece of Light Strike foam here, so it kind of just acts like a springboard. And again, I think that does solve the issue of just putting 2 massive carbon plates in for probably no real benefit. Now you actually kind of have, like, you know, carbon infused rods going through the bottom, carbon plate going through the top, so it probably does create a big benefit. And this shoe is mainly used for like a long distance run, I would say. I'd take this for a half marathon, or hopefully one day when I can run one, probably a full marathon, maybe a 10k if it's not on, like, you know, twisty turny terrain, because again, it's not going to be the most stable shoe. I like quite a thin shoe when I'm doing a 5 or 10k, because it's not really having as much impact on your legs, and it's just, there's no real need to have a huge amount of foam on the back of your foot for like just a 5 or 10k, right? You kind of want a quick, light shoe just to get around the corners and stuff like that, especially if it's in the woods. You wouldn't really wear this shoe, right? You'd wear this on like a big half marathon, road race, kind of a straight trail race, etc. You get what I'm saying. But I have noticed as well, they still have this continental foam, but it just seems to be a little bit more grippy than the previous one. Like you can see there is some texture on there. It just sticks a lot more, and when I'm walking in it, you can kind of just hear it stick into the ground a bit, which is nice, because one of my biggest gripes with the X2 shoe was that it's just silky smooth. Like it's held up very well. Like I said in the previous video, it's really like it's just no wear and tear really, even though I've done over 100 miles in this shoe at least. But the issue is it's slick, you know. Like I noticed when I was running in like wet roads, wet rocky terrain, it's just it just slides a bit. And I wouldn't really risk wearing that on a muddy course really. So when I was doing like a half marathon, there was a lot of puddles, etc. It just wasn't the most ideal shoe. I did slip a little bit. I didn't actually fall over, but yeah, it was just a bit slippy. And I think that's another issue they fixed, is that they actually added a lot of texture, a bit more grip, so it doesn't feel quite as slick. Maybe it's not as good because there's a bit more friction. So on a dry day, you know, you might have a bit more friction. It might slow you down potentially. I don't know. We'll have to find out. Whereas this one just kind of just, you know, there was no real friction. It's just, you can yeah, you can just hear the difference. But in the upper, they use the same kind of technology. It's made of a robot, just individual threads being strung together to create this string effect. It's very light. Obviously it has a lot of little holes in it and everything, so probably not the most ideal shoe for running in the rain in, but who cares, you know, when you're racing, it doesn't matter if it's raining or not. You don't really care if your feet get too wet. But you know, if you're training in the rain, probably don't wear that shoe, because your feet are going to get probably drenched, because there's tiny little holes in the whole upper. But I love the design. I particularly, as I said, love the design of the X2. The way, like, it just kind of glows in the dark a bit, I feel, as well when I wear it in the dark. I love that. But it's the same design, same machines made it. I did mention in the previous video, I didn't like how the toe box was, obviously you can hear this, and it really like creates a lot of friction on the toenails. I said that in the previous video. Ended up with like a lot of blisters, and I feel like that's one aspect they haven't really improved. It does feel like the toe box has more room though in this one, actually, when I've tried it on, because in this one it was very tight at the front. So maybe that's going to help, because it just feels like my toes aren't rubbing directly against it, but the material is still the same. So I'm probably going to have a lot of friction there still, but it definitely feels like there is more room. You can actually, it does kind of look identical actually, but I definitely feel like there's more room. So hopefully that's not going to happen, and hopefully the shoe's going to answer my prayers, and I'm hoping it's going to be one of my favorite shoes. When I tried it on the treadmill and I've just been out for a run with it, it feels like it has the potential to be one of my favorite shoes. They fixed a lot of the stability issues. The carbon plate kind of sticks out the back a bit. I think it just helps not to roll too much. And again, they've taken out, I'm pretty sure they've taken out the second carbon plate, and they just have the one carbon plate with the infused energy rods. I need to check that. But it just feels like a more stable shoe. They've got this cut out in the middle as well, and probably saving a bit of weight there. I guess that was probably the reason. You see this kind of design in a lot of shoes now, like the Puma Fast R's, which everyone loves. You kind of see that like cut out in the middle. They kind of separate the forefoot from the heel area, and it just creates like a really springy shoe. So I'm going to go to the running club tonight, and I can't wait to try it. I don't feel like there's much padding. Again, this is one of my gripes with the other one. Let me feel. Yeah, I feel like there is a bit more padding, actually, than there was, especially like just on the inside. Because with the previous one, there was minimal padding. And you don't have this little little tag anymore that you can kind of put your shoe on with, which is, I don't know, I kind of like that because it just helps me get the shoe on, but it doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things. But there is a lot of padding around there, and I think that is going to lend itself to being a more comfortable shoe for a long run. But yeah, it's got that kind of, on the tongue, it's got that kind of socky feel, you know, where you just slide it on and it kind of just fits around your foot, so that's really nice. And this colour wave, I really love as well. They had a couple of colourways in the shop, and I just really like this one. So shout out to Run Active. This is where I bought the shoe from. You can have a look on their website, see where they have it in stock. The staff are excellent. They have gait analysis, so you can use the treadmill, etc, etc. It's a really good shop to buy shoes from. Very good stuff. But yeah, in general, I'm gonna get back to you after I've done a few more runs in this shoe, and after 100 miles I'll do another review, see how it's been holding up. I've been a bit disappointed with some Adidas shoes lately because I don't have it up here actually, but I bought I think the Evo SL, which everybody loves, but I bought like a special edition and it lasted about 5 runs before it got like a big hole in the toe box. So that was kind of a shame really. I had it for like 1 month, but I probably could have taken it back and exchanged it for something else. But yeah, it is what it is. Adidas sometimes can just not be the best quality, especially in their racing shoes. They don't seem to last as long because obviously they're trying to save a lot of material on the upper, so it just lends itself to being less durable. But we'll see, because this shoe actually has held up very well. I'm very impressed with the X2, and it's still, I can still take this out and it still feels very responsive, very springy. Very happy with the shoe. Obviously the stability issues, I haven't actually, you know, hurt myself wearing this shoe, but there's been times where it just feels very unstable and it feels like you could twist your ankle very easily in that shoe, so you do have to be careful. And I think the same thing is kind of going to apply, but it does feel a bit better. I can't really figure out why it feels less stable, but potentially because the carbon plate is just kind of sticking out a bit. And again, like I said, it's kind of in the forefoot of the shoe, it just feels a lot wider. So when you're twisting your foot, it doesn't feel like you're just going to, you know, break your foot, which is nice. I'm probably going to regret saying that. I'm going to come back on the next video and I'm going to say, oh, I've got, I broke my foot wearing this shoe. Hopefully not. But yeah, the Continental rubber, really great. They've had that for years and I just love it. It's one of the best rubbers I've seen on shoes, so that's nice. Right, I'm excited to wear it, you can probably tell. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Here's a little up close of the two shoes, so you can see the difference. You can see how there's a massive cutout in this one, just a minimal cutout in this one. There we go. Thanks guys. Cheers.